IDPA versus USPSA. Let's read the question. Why so much hate between USPSA and IDPA? I know a USPSA GM who is also an IDPA M, who is LE, by the way, and he loves both sports. He says both have value, even though they're different. Why so much hate from each camp towards the other? All right, well, first, I'm going to disagree with the premise of the question kind of a lot. Like, I don't really think there's a lot of hate from IDPA, right? Well, not like USPSA versus IDPA, maybe IDPA towards USPSA. It's been a long time since I've been at an IDPA event. Like, I didn't go to one in the last decade. The last one I went to was the decade before that. But of course, I talked to a lot of people about it. And I think, like, and I was definitely in the mix when there was a lot of hate, a lot of hate. I started in IDPA because I liked the equipment. It was more interesting to me, like a production pistol, that kind of thing. And if not for production division in USPSA, I don't think I'd have ever shot a USPSA match because I'm more interested in like the stock equipment. I find that more interesting. Anyway, why was there so much hate? Well, IDPA started in many, I think in many ways, or if not entirely, as a reaction to USPSA, where people are like, at that time in the late 90s, it was like open and limited. That's what you had for divisions. None of that equipment was really that practical. To me, I've never really been interested in shooting those guns. Like they don't really speak to me. They're not that interesting to me. Like if you like that, go ahead. But I'm just not that interested in that. And I think there's a lot of other people like that. It's like, oh, we don't like these guns. Like the barrier to entry is really high. I mean, to say like you have to be shooting a limited gun in order to even, really get after it in a USPSA match. I mean, that's a high barrier to entry. Also, there's this perception that USPSA is too fast and not tactical. And, all of that stuff boiled over into the formation of IDPA. And of course, there's a lot of animus there. It's like the people going to do IDPA, they're doing that because they're unhappy with USPSA over here. Like predominantly, that's what was happening. They don't like USPSA. Now, as time went on, I think this was actually good for USPSA. This was a good thing because it spurred them to action. They created a production limited 10 division, revolver division in 2001 or something, 2002 maybe, I don't know. Or 1999, whatever, a long time ago. They created these divisions and started pushing things more towards the practical equipment or those type of stock pistols. And having this like dueling like USPSA versus IDPA, it kind of helped each organization hold each other in check to some degree. Like for example, when I started in IDPA, there was not fault lines on the ground at that time. Explicitly, you didn't have fault lines. Instead, you'd have the safety officer making cover calls. And the friction there was at the club level, that's really easy to set that up and do it. And you can have your match with minimal equipment. You say, hey, go over there, take cover behind that barricade and shoot at those targets. Cool. You don't have to set up any other stuff. You just put a barricade out and some targets. You don't need all this fault line stuff. And at the club level, like I have a Monday night club that we would do IDPA and that made it really easy for me. If I'm the match director, it's like I can set up 3 stages in like 40 minutes, like really easily, like kind of interesting stages, because you don't need that many props. So you had that. But then on the other side, at a major match type of setting, like that's kind of fucked where you're like, you go up to a barricade, you're shooting, and then a safety officer's like, boom, there's like a 3-second penalty because your foot is half an inch from where I think it should be, and that's no way to run a championship. No way to run a championship, and that was the friction. It's like IDPA worked pretty well at a club level, championship level, not so much in my opinion. But anyway. Things have now progressed and gone on where IDPA is basically like it's kind of turned into a dialed down USPSA. Like it's a lot better in a lot of respects. And it's like a dialed down version of USPSA. I don't hear a bunch of jokes about it anymore. People are like, oh, IDPA sucks or whatever. People who are interested can shoot each each thing and like it's not a big deal. I just think a lot of the animus has kind of gone away. IDPA has certainly become a lot less relevant in the last 10 years. It's way, way less relevant than it was. I mean, hey, who was stock service pistol champion in 2021? You tell me, because I have no idea. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? It's not that interesting anymore. There's not really the friction, I don't think. It's just gone away. But there was a lot of, there used to be a ton of friction, a ton. Now, I should also caveat this. This is all super regional. It's very, very regional stuff. There'll be some states or some parts of the country that you go to where there's like both are really active and there is hate. Other parts where there's IDPA effectively does not exist in some places. It's a regional thing. I'm sure there's like pockets of like, people fighting with each other still. But I think in large measure, the USPSA IDPA friction thing is a thing of the past, because in a sense, both sports won. Both won. IDPA pushed USPSA at that time more towards practical equipment. And USPSA, the friction and pressure there forced IDPA to kind of become a better sport in terms of the way that it's adjudicated and the way that things are settled as far as, like, hey, we should have these fault lines. Hey, you should be allowed to like, move and reload, properly, like when you want that kind of stuff. So both, like, you see what I mean? Like both sides kind of won. And also IDPA has just kind of fallen off, as other things have risen up, like PCSL is on the rise now. So anyway, it's an interesting discussion for sure. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts and experiences because this is a complex topic going back, decades at this point.